can't wait to ask him. We're going to have Red Dog today. Let's bring on Scott Redler. Put your hands together. All right, Red Dog. First of all, happy Tuesday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. I know you got to be smiling ear to ear because your Knicks just put the Celtics off their knee. What a series. And now, are you ready for like an old school 90s Pacers-Knicks rivalry? How's this going to go?
I think the Knicks win. I actually was, I had tickets for Wednesday and I was going to go. And, my crazy son who is obsessed with basketball, I was going to go with him. And he's like, I got 2 tests on Thursday. I'm like, 2 tests on Thursday? I'm like, so basically that's how, you're going to stay home and study and you don't want to go to the Knicks? So he's like, let's go to the finals. I was like, all right, the Knicks go to the finals. We'll go then. I know it's a Wednesday night. It's hard to, to kind of screw up the week on a Wednesday night, but we'll be watching at my friend's house. He has a projector. We're going to barbecue and we'll do it there. So this way I don't have to go into the city and out of the city.
Makes sense.
But, I did poke at Portnoy a little bit, calling, Knicks fans a bunch of jerks and, being adamant about game 4, game 5, game 6 and whatever. Anyway, that's that.
I'm down for a Portnoy Red Dog battle. I'd be down to see that. I just got to say, I grew up in the 90s watching basketball. I grew up watching the Pacers, the Knicks, and of course the Bulls. And I'll say this for you, I'm really happy for you. Sorry, I'm going to take my shot here. I'm really happy for you because there is no Michael to stop this great Knicks team like there was in the 90s. So hopefully you'll end up getting it there. I know the Pacers feel the same way. My money's on the Knicks. We'll see how it goes. I hope your team ends up winning.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
All right, folks, now let's get down to business. Join Scott's free option trading blueprint webinar with Adam Mesh this Thursday at 1 p.m. to learn what's working for the pros right now and why. Redler and Mesh in the same webinar. Folks, hit that QR code. Link is in the description. All right, Red Dog, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, Mesh is awesome. He's been doing this a long time. Do you remember Adam Mesh from The Average Joe? He was one of the first original guys who was on a reality show to become famous. Do you remember that show?
No, actually, oh my God, I'm so glad that now I get to ask him about that. I did not remember that. I just know him as being an awesome trader. Every time he comes on here, he's great.
Well, it was funny. They put him as The Average Joe. Meanwhile, he was making $1 million as a trader back in the 90s when people weren't making millions of dollars. But he wasn't like a model like some of the other guys that were on there. And, everyone was rooting for him because, he looked like an average Joe compared to the other guys. And it was funny. And then from there, just, life happened. So always funny how things happen over the years.
That is really. Oh man, I'm gonna have to do some digging and come up with some good questions the next time we have Adam on. That's fun. All right, I see you got the S&P 500 loaded up here. What are you seeing in the SPY?
Well, yesterday was an interesting day. You had the Moody's downgrade. Everyone got the whole weekend to stew over it. And then all of a sudden we opened up in the morning. We held above the 8-day. It reclaimed 589. And, people who were thinking this is the start of the down move, they were fading it all day and they got hurt. And people who were trying to salvage trades were a little upset. And then the funny thing now is that, the TLTs are getting a little pressured. The SPYs are down $1.50. I'm hoping that, that it's not like predatory where everyone's like, all right, the market's really, really super strong because we absorbed that news. And then all of a sudden, the TLT start working lower and the SPYs get some pressure. And then all the things that kind of looked really good yesterday, get a little weaker. So I'm still in a bunch of stuff and I still have some favorite names. I'm just going to, be a little, just be a little bit on my toes today and not get too aggressive. Yesterday was the day to get aggressive. Today is the day to make sure things could hang in there the way they did yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it sounds like you're a little bit more defensive today than you were yesterday. I'm glad you brought up the TLT there. That's something that I've been looking for a trade here. I initially, I think it was like 2 months ago, was thinking that the trade there on the TLT is probably to just own it and then sell upside calls against as it really, really struggles to get above its 200 in any meaningful way. I'm curious to hear, what do you see here on the TLT?
Well, everyone who's watching knows the red dog reversal, right? Well, yesterday you basically had a double red dog reversal where yesterday, the 10-year I think was above 5%. Everyone was getting all worried. And I said, hey, if we get below this 85 area, that means, sellers, the algo is going to be programmed probably just to sell equities. The only way we're going to be able to really bounce is if we could reclaim 85, 84, 89. So after a move from 94 or from 90 down to here, it reclaimed that area. And knowing what that meant could have got you along the SPYs, the Qs, some names, and then, or even this. So this is what we call a red dog reversal. You write down 85. You could have wrote down this low here, which was 85.20. It reclaimed both, so it proved the sellers and the TLTs didn't have power, and it also proved that the market could relieve some pressure. So for today, there's no real setup here except for, the market won't really be that annoyed with the TLTs as long as it stays right around 85.60, or maybe goes from red to green. That would help the SPYs. But if all of a sudden it starts getting back down to that area, things can get testy again.
Okay. How about the Qs?
Qs are, same as actually, Qs have been acting better than the SPYs, really. This 515 area got below, reclaimed it really fast. Didn't even get to the 8-day. Look at the 8-day. The 8-day has been so strong. If you would have pressed here at the 8-day, you lost. If you would have pressed here at the 8-day and rolled up shorts, you got crushed. So as long as this 8-day is still support, the momentum's strong, and you want to be looking for better names than looking for retests of lows.
And it looks like that top that you have that we're testing there is 522.53. So I'm assuming you're looking for a move above that.
We'll see. I think today will be an interesting day. Hopefully rates don't start going up and, things hang in there, because I do like a lot of setups that I'm pretty long, and I wanted to get bigger versus, sitting around, which we can get to. So as long as we hang in this range, individual stocks can be individual stocks.
Okay. All right. We talked about the SPY. We talked about the Qs. We even looked at the TLT there. How about the IWM? You see any setup here or anything going on with the small caps?
Funny thing is, I've been trying to ignore the IWM because it trades like such sugar honey iced tea. But anyway, there was a little bit of a red dog reversal here at the gap. So I got long last Thursday. I bought some options. Friday, it looked as if we were going to take out the 200 EMA. It was going to finally get a little bit better. And then the Moody's downgrade happened, and obviously small caps need lower rates, not higher rates. So I thought I was going to get obliterated yesterday in the IWM, and it wound up holding here. So I'm long small okay. IWM. This is my stop. This is 205.39. It needs to hold this gap for me to stay there. If it starts breaking below there, I'm done with that trade.
Okay. Pretty simple there. Good outlook there on the IWM. Okay, I am going to ask you about some of your babies here, of course. But I want to start with UNH. This has really kind of dominated a lot of the trading circles that I've been a part of. Do you have anything on the UNH chart at all that looks interesting to you? Is the bottom in?
Well, UNH, first of all, is not my baby. UNH,
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saving your babies for the end.
I got to say, the Alpha team did a fantastic job. I did a decent job, okay? On this day when it was getting crushed, when it put a low on at 248 and was at 252, there were guys on the Alpha team saying, hey, let's get long versus 248. I bought options. I bought options for like $4 to 310s. So then it went into the gap. That was a nice day trade. You don't care what's going on up here. Went into the gap, stayed with the options. I took off my options yesterday for like $12. So I made from 4 to about 12 on the last set. So I did pretty well. Some guys did well in the stock. I didn't trust the stock to be in it. Could have made a lot more in the stock than options because I would have had more size. But anyway, here's your 8-day. I would trim into this spot. I don't think it's an ad. It's up another 6. Okay. So, if catching bottoms are tough. You have to do it calculated, and we did a pretty good job. The Alpha team, that's their job usually, is to find over emotional trades, and that by far was very over emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I asked it for you. Folks, we are with Scott Redler. Join Scott. Join Scott's free option trading blueprint webinar with Adam Mesh this Thursday at 1 to learn what's working for the pros right now and why. Scan that QR code on the screen. Okay, let's talk about Dash. I know you like DoorDash here. What do we got going on with Dash?
I'm in stock and options. I've been riding this thing, and it's one of the top of my go-to list since remember that August 5th bottom? Well, on August 5th, when we had the bottom, look at that wide range bar showing relative strength. And since then, it's been, a great stock to trade, a great stock to buy dips. Not a great momentum name. It doesn't love to push through areas and go. It likes to be bought on a dip, and that's what I've been trying to do. I would say if you wanted to be long, you could be long versus 195. But if you look here, look at what's more important, or actually, this is the daily chart. Look at the weekly chart of Dash, the weekly chart. What does this look like to you?
That looks like a cup, and it's kind of forming a handle there, and it looks like it's trying to break that trend line and go higher.
So this looks to me like something everybody should stay with in the months ahead and learn how it moves. And if you look at the monthly chart also, look at this. This also looks like a crazy accumulation. Like this stock only came public in 2021, which a lot of stocks haven't come public in the past 5 years. So this one came public, a little bit of work in here. All the institutions own it. On down days, there's no sellers around. So I think this is a name for traders get to know. It's not Apple and Amazon and Tesla, but it's a name that I think you get to know. I know a lot of people making a lot of money here, and I'm starting to definitely get a lot more comfortable here. I could see it, I could feel it, and I'm going to try and stay with it. And I do think, you have a bit of a wedge, and if you're super active and you don't want to get to know a new name, well, just be long it and put a stop at 195. And if it gets above 206, if the market hangs in there, the next level is 215.
Okay. Awesome outlook there. How about Uber?
Uber's been a great trade also. Uber, broke above that, what was it, the 87 area right here. Okay. And then had a nice bull flag being built. I have some options on, I have some stock on. JP Morgan upgraded it today, which is kind of cool. So it's up in a sea of red. Uber right here is up 50 cents, not a whole lot. It was up more before when the futures were a little bit better. So I'd watch it. If it could hold 93 and stay above it, I think that market hangs around. This has a road to 100, and you should be, looking at this one also.
Perfect. I definitely feel like it's got that 100 magnet going. Okay, of course, we can take a look at Tesla if you want. And then the last one that I have for you after Tesla is PanW, because it reports earnings this evening.
Yeah, so Tesla was a big trade for the community. Alpha team was all over this. We were buying the TSLLs, TSLL calls, power plays had it. And I did reduce into that spot, and I kind of said I want to let it breathe and see if it could hold the 8-day. Yesterday it held 334. It didn't go green like everything else, so I kind of, stayed away. This morning I bought a little TSLL just to be involved and watch it. If you look right now, Tesla is what's it doing? It's up 365 in a sea of red, so it's showing some relative strength. So if the market can hang in there, there's a chance that at some point it tries to take out 351. There was a Morgan Stanley note about its autonomous driving, about the robo-taxis, a little less emphasis on the EV market. So if people are ready to look past the EV market and go to robotics and go to robo-taxis, et cetera, it's trading better. So I try not to, overthink it. As long as it's above the 8-day, as long as there's momentum, as long as it's kind of leading, I like to be there. So we'll see what Tesla does today.
Okay, sounds good. And last here, PanW, as mentioned, they report earnings here after hours. Is there anything that you see here in this PanW chart that might help some traders?
Yeah, it's strong. I'm not going to take it. I don't trade the cybersecurity names so great, to be honest. I would think, this 205 to 208 area is the area if you trade it after hours. If it's like a strong report, strong guidance, it's got to get above this spot. It's above the 8-day. It's not really extended. It's priced for a good report. And then what I would also watch is CRWD, because this looks pretty good. CrowdStrike is more of a trader's favorite. If PANW does really well, I would think that this gets above 445, 455. So, I think you could, if you think, PanW is going to be great, maybe you could go with CRWD, because if it's not great, they could be like, oh, CRWD is doing better, so at least there's a way out if it's not, and then if you, I would say if you want this, and you don't have any on and PNW kills it, you're not going to be able to get this. So if you're thinking you're going to miss this 445, 455, you got to put a little bit up on, into options wise. Do like you could do a nice little call spread, or something like that. When's Crowd's earnings? May 30th. That's next week. So you can put a little bit on, and if it goes nuts, you make some money. If it doesn't do well or it's not enough, then you could buy a dip and wait for Crowd's earnings that come up in, like I just said before, which is
10 days, right? Something like that.
Something like that. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Really good breakdown. Ton of stuff here, folks. Join Scott's free webinar, Option Trading Blueprint webinar with Adam Mesh this Thursday at 1 to learn what's working for the pros right now and why. Scan that QR code. I know.
By the way, you're looking like a little svelte. You've been doing your push-ups?
Hell yeah, I've been doing my push-ups. I got 25 knocked out before you came on here today. I got more to do later. And as I was saying when I opened up here, we've got rain here in Chicago. I've got a 14-day streak of hitting all my active targets rolling right now, and I ain't gonna let the rain ruin that here today. You can bet your ass.
Well, sometimes running in the rain is very therapeutic. I love running in the rain.
You know what?
Kind of like one with nature. It makes you feel better. I've done a lot of races in the rain where people don't like it, but that's when the going gets tough.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there have been a couple of times where it's been super cold out there. I'm talking like 4 degrees, single digits, or it's been raining out there, and I'm out there getting my steps, getting my miles.
There you go.
And I got people inside looking at me like I'm crazy. And my thought is, I'm out here working and you're being lazy. So thanks for noticing there. Yes, absolutely. We're on this every day.
That's what builds mental toughness. That's right. Other people's doubt. There you go.
That's right. Hopefully you've got enough mental toughness for tomorrow's game. Enjoy that Knick game. Go Knicks. We'll talk to you next time we catch up with you. All right, Scott?
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. As always, that is Red Dog, folks. Awesome stuff here from Red Dog. Be sure to hit that QR code. Those guys are amazing. Love having all of them on. And this is going to be a fun basketball series. We'll see how it goes. Now, Red Dog's departure, of course, leaves room for 13. Let's check in with 13. 13, how you doing, my man? Is it raining down there in Texas by you or no?
No, but it is cloudy.
Okay.
Got a nice overcast in the sky. Still enough sun is peeking through to light up my room here, but it's looking like we could get some rain, but not yet.
Okay. We'll see where that goes. Dragon Slacker here. Ryan could run the Fed better and more enthusiastically than Powell, who's on his exit tour. This is one of the nicer things somebody said to me. I don't think I could run the Fed. I don't think I'd want to run the Fed, but I could definitely do it with more enthusiasm than Jay Powell. That is for damn sure, bro.
I think you could run the Fed, but I don't think you'd want to, is what I was
There you go. I appreciate you. Okay. All right. Really good stuff here. We're having a fun morning already. My gosh, it is almost 9 o'clock already. 13, do you want to knock out any of those movers? I do have a list of some stocks to take a look at here. 2 of them might actually be on the movers list. What do you say we just start there and then morph into whatever else you want?
Because it's, the list is okay, but I'm more interested to find out what everybody wants us to take a look at. So yeah, let's get through the movers.
Okay, let's do it right now. I'm going to flip over to that right now, excuse me. We're going to start here. NRXS. I saw a couple of you mentioning this while we were talking to Redler there. This is Neuraxis. I actually didn't cover this one or look at this one when I was looking through the movers list earlier prior to the show starting. Neuraxis shares are trading higher after the company announced it received an FDA 510K clearance regarding IB-Stim for the treatment of pediatric FAP associated with functional dysphasia and FD related